Welcome back to Global Technology, the channel where we travel through the world of machines, manufacturing, and the hands-on industries that built modern life. Today, we're stepping into a piece of living American history, the U.S. lumber world, an industry that raised towns, powered railroads, and framed the homes of generations. Long before steel and concrete took over skylines, it was timber that carried the American story forward. And in this video, we'll follow that story the old-school way, from the forest, to the road, to the river, and finally into the mill at Hull Oaks Lumber Co. Stay with me, because every step has a purpose, and every cut has a reason. Out in the forest, the work starts with patience and planning, not speed. A tree isn't just cut down. It's assessed for straightness, diameter, and how the grain will behave once it becomes boards. After the cut, the trunk is bucked into manageable log lengths, based on what the mill can handle and what the end products demand. Then comes one of the most important steps, handling. Logs are staged, sorted, and loaded with heavy equipment, because one bad lift can crack the end, bruise the bark, or waste valuable wood fiber. From there, the haul begins. Logs riding out on trucks through rough forest roads, suspension bouncing, chains tight, drivers moving carefully to keep weight balanced. Next, the journey shifts to the water. At the river, logs are transferred down to the landing, guided and gathered so they can travel as a floating supply line. Water transport may look simple, but it's a time-tested method. Gentler on the logs, efficient for volume, and deeply rooted in North American logging history. And from the river, those same logs finally arrive at the mill, ready for the real transformation. Out here on the mill pond, the work looks calm, but it's all about control. These logs have just finished their river journey, and the pond acts like a living buffer zone. It holds inventory, prevents bottlenecks, and keeps production moving even when deliveries come in waves. You're watching a small log boat, often called a log bronc, nudge and spin individual logs into position. The operator uses the boat's push plates and the water's buoyancy to steer timber without damaging it. That matters, because scraping ends or cracking the outer fibers can lower lumber grade before sawing even begins. Water also helps in another way. It keeps logs cooler and slows surface checking, especially during warm weather. While the big grapple machine on shore handles heavy moves, the boat does the fine work, sorting, spacing, and feeding logs toward the intake ramp. Next, those floating logs will be lifted, aligned, and sent into the mill's first conveyor system. From the pond, each log is funneled toward the mill's intake ramp. This is the handoff from water handling to precise machine-controlled feeding. The log climbs onto a lugged chain conveyor and settles into a steel trough, where guide rails and powered rollers keep it centered. That steady alignment matters, because a log that yaws or rolls at the wrong moment can stall the line or strike the guards. Now comes one of the most important protection steps in the entire mill, debarking. Inside the debarker housing, heavy rotating heads, fitted with hardened cutters, press against the log and shear away bark as the log turns and advances. Instead of shaving the wood deeply, the cutters aim to peel the bark layer cleanly, following the natural boundary between bark and wood. Wet bark often releases in long ribbons. Drier bark can break into chunks, so the machine's pressure and speed have to stay balanced. This step does three big jobs at once. First, it removes dirt and sand trapped in bark, which would otherwise dull saw teeth fast. Second, it exposes clean wood so sensors and operators can read the log's shape more accurately. And third, it reduces insects and surface contamination that can stain boards later. Now the real sawing begins. The debarked log rides onto the mill's headrig infeed, where it's guided into position for the first cuts. You can see the log traveling on the chain bed, held straight by steel guides and kickers that prevent it from rolling offline. Inside, the log is controlled, clamped, and indexed, so the saw can open one flat face. That first slab cut is crucial. It turns a round, unstable log into a controllable shape for accurate lumber. As the log advances, the setworks adjusts the next pass, aiming to maximize yield while keeping the cut smooth and consistent. From here, the log will be squared down and prepared for boards in the next stages. Now we're inside the mill where the real muscle work happens. The headrig and its heavy carriage system. A debarked log rolls into position and gets locked down by steel clamps and dogs. That hold has to be rock solid because once the saw starts cutting, the log wants to twist, flex, and even walk from vibration. The carriage keeps everything straight while the setworks controls each measured pass. The first cuts are about creating control. A round log can't become lumber until it has flat reference faces. So the mill opens it up with slab cuts, then indexes the log, rotating it a little at a time, to square it down into a cant. You can actually read the story of the tree in the bright end grain as it advances. Tight rings, wider rings, and the subtle oval shape that shows natural growth stresses. But this mill isn't only making small boards. Watch what happens next. Once the cant is clean and stable, it's pushed through and live sawn into long, wide pieces. Those big timbers and thick planks ride down the roller table like freight on rails, shedding sawdust as they go. The rollers keep the piece moving smoothly and level, preventing sagging or binding that could ruin a straight cut. And here's where the human skill shows up again. A worker steps in to guide the heavy timber by hand, keeping it centered, watching for snag points, and helping it transition cleanly to the next section. In a mill like this, old-world mechanics and modern control meet in the middle. Machines provide the force, but experienced hands protect the flow and the finish. After the headrig turns the log into big timbers and thick planks, the mill shifts into refinement. This is where rough sawn becomes usable product. On the roller tables, you'll notice narrow sideboards and slabs being separated, while the main pieces keep moving forward in a clean, controlled line. Workers watch the flow closely because one crooked transfer can damage an edge or throw the next machine out of rhythm. Here we see a powerful circular saw station handling heavy stock. The operator stands at the controls, timing each feed so the saw bites clean and true. This kind of saw is often used for trimming ends to standard lengths, squaring up faces, or making specialty cuts on beams and large timbers. The goal isn't just to cut, it's to cut accurately, so pieces stack tight and stay straight later. Next comes staging and storage. Fresh sawn boards are gathered into organized piles, separated by size and type. Then, outside, a forklift takes over, lifting bundles, aligning stacks, and moving lumber to the yard, where it can be air-dried, sorted, or prepared for shipment. Those long, uniform stacks you see are the mill's final promise. Consistent dimensions, stable handling, and wood that's ready for its next life in construction. If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look, hit the like button. It helps more people find videos like this. Subscribe to Global Works TV and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the next journey into woodworking, factories, and the machines that built the modern world. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.